You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Ideals are what we fight for, brother.
Such pretty lies. We fight for the same reasons men have always fought. For land, for resources, for wealth, and for bodies to feed into the grinders of industry. We fight to silence anyone who dare draws breath and whisper a different opinion from ours. We fight because the Emperor wants every world in his hands. All he knows is slavery, painted in the inoffensive cloak of compliance. The very notion of freedom is a horror to him.
We offer them freedom. You are mutilating your own sons and stealing their minds. Now, you preach of the Emperor's tyranny? Are you lost so far in your delusions?
Do we give a choice to those we slaughter? A true choice? Or do we broadcast they must throw their weapons into the fires of peace and bow down? Faces pushed into the mud like beggars, thanking us for the cultures we force upon them. We offer them compliance, or we offer them death. How am I a traitor, Wolfling? I fight as you fight, as loyal as you are. I do the tyrant's bidding.
Traitor.
You are free, Lehman Russ of Fenris, because your freedom matches the Emperor's will. For each time I wage war against wells that threaten the Imperium's advance, there comes another time when I am told to conquer peaceful wells that wish only to be left alone. I am told to destroy whole civilizations and call it liberation. I am told to demand millions of men and women from these new worlds to make them take up arms in the Emperor's hordes, and I am told to call this a tithe or recruitment because we are too scared of the truth. We refuse to call it slavery. Angron, be silent. You have given your threats, dog. Now hear me. Listen to another hound barking for once.
Then speak.
I am loyal, same as you. I am told to bathe my legion in the blood of innocents and sinners alike, and I do it. Because that's all that's left for me in this life. I do these things and I enjoy them, not because we are moral or right, or loving souls seeking to enlighten a dark universe, but because all I feel are the butcher's nails hammered into my brain. I serve because of this mutilation. Without it, well, perhaps I might be a more moral man like you claim to be. A virtuous man, eh? Perhaps I might ascend the steps of our father's palace and take the slaving master's head!
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cult of Lore. I'm Ben.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Jerry.
And today we're back on schedule with a regular episode of a Primarch.
Yeah.
And so this episode we're doing Angron.
Angry Angron.
He's not sad Ron.
He's not sad Ron.
He's not Joy Ron. He's Angron.
Today we're going to be covering Vulcan of the Salamanders.
I brought the wrong notes. Damn it. After all.
So, yeah, we've had a few. This episode has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Things keep happening that are special and not Primarch. So
Right. We had book review and
yeah.
I think there was some other
We had some holiday stuff.
holiday episode
Yeah.
from it. Yep.
You know. We
So-
shake it up. You've noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, every once in a while something just kind of catches us, and then we interrupt our entire schedule to do it.
Yeah.
It's a big hassle, and we won't stop. So what can we do about it?
Right.
Yes.
But today we're covering Traitor Primarch Angron of the World Eaters.
Of the World Eaters.
I didn't get to do his book. So obviously this is a part one, and we'll do another one when we dive more into it. This one my knowledge from him comes primarily from the book Betrayer,
Right.
which is his ascension to demonhood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. I just finished that book a little bit prior to this recording.
Yeah, it's I like it. I like it a lot.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot to it.
That was a juicy book.
I think it gives you a pretty decent glimpse at Angron's personality. And there's a really good conversation in it that gives you a lot of his philosophy.
Right.
So,
Yep.
So I think for it not being his Primarch book, it's a good source if you want to get an idea of Angron's character.
Yeah, and we should probably do a little bit of a spoiler warning for that book because we'll probably make references to things that happen in it
most
throughout the
definitely.
course of this episode. So, yeah. Be forewarned if you want to read Betrayer
With fresh ears.
with fresh ears.
Which I would highly recommend.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can necessarily recommend that you shut off our episode to avoid spoilers to go listen to the book. But
Maybe listen to another episode in the meantime.
yeah, if there's an episode you haven't listened to, listen to that instead, or go check out Cult of Conspiracy and then
Oh,
come
yeah.
back to us
There we go.
because
Yeah.
those views count for us.
Yeah.
Sucking that deep.
So,
Angron. Jerry, what'd you think of Angron? Checking him out.
Oh, I thought he was an interesting guy. Like, I liked his character design. Like when he becomes like the
The
demon.
Demon Primarch.
Yeah, I looked
Yeah.
at some of those online, and then I looked at the Game Workshop website
Right.
to like look at his figure, and I was like, that is really cool.
ooh, I haven't looked at the figure yet.
Yeah, it's neat.
Nice.
It's like $170, but yeah.
Yeah, Primarchs are expensive.
But it looked, like it was worth it because it's really cool.
It's probably pretty big compared to the other
Yeah.
Yeah.
guys, too.
and it's
huh?
one of those ones that your painting skills are definitely going to want to be
Yeah.
on the prim and proper if you're going to tackle a project.
Oh,
like that.
yeah. A lot of detail, huh?
I think
Yeah,
I had like a
most
painting
definitely.
guide on there for it. So
Oh,
that's helpful.
But yeah, it's kind of like he kind of turned into like a demonic T-Rex with wings.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like a dragon man.
Yeah,
Dragon Man.
Eric, what about you? What'd you walk away from? We're kind of doing this backwards, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's
What-
fine.
what-
Angron did nothing wrong.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Mm.
That's where I landed. Yep.
Okay.
No, I'll stick to that too. And I have a snotty nose today, so I'm really feeling the camaraderie here with this guy. Angron did nothing wrong. This poor guy. I mean, I get that he's an asshole. He's worse than that even, but I don't think I don't think it's his fault. No.
So you think out of all the Primarchs all the ones that claim that it's not their fault, that the only one whose fault it's not is Angron.
I actually, so far, yes. With where we're at right now in my knowledge of Warhammer, yeah, yes,
Okay,
I do.
That's
There
fair.
we go. That's
I-
a fair thing to say.
Yeah, I think I get his motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. So Angron, he's one of the three Primarchs that really got the shit end of the stick,
Yeah.
and I kind of like the argument is always which one of them had the worst upbringing. Was it Mortarion? Was it Kurz? Or was
right.
it Angron?
Right.
I'm kind of resting on that. It depends on what you think is most important to upbringing,
Right.
because each one of them lacked something on a fundamental level. I have a hard time dropping my bias and stating that I think Kurz grew up with the least amount of anything,
Right.
because even as we find out, Angron had family.
Yeah. I don't think I could say that Angron had it the worst as an upbringing. I don't think I'm there. I'm kind of with you where it's like at least he had some kind of purpose and camaraderie.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's I mean, it still wasn't. He was a slave,
Yeah.
right.
on this planet. But like, so that's obviously terrible. But, when we're comparing the three of them, I can't say, in my opinion, Angron had it the worst.
Right. Yeah,
It's kind of impressive. He found like something good out of that.
he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did. So so obviously he was, Primarch got scattered by Argoltal.
Argoltal.
Eric's got such a love-hate with that character.
Dude, he's such a good character. I loved following his character. Still do. Whatever. But boy, he did a big fucking that bastard with the Gellerfield shit at the Primarchs. It's all his fault.
So
It's all his fault.
Argoltal is the word bearer who went back in time and lowered the Gellerfield in the Emperor's laboratory that allowed chaos to scatter the Primarchs.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like,
And he's the one.
Yeah.
He's the one we were talking off air. He's the one that Angron is taunting.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
in that book.
Okay.
So during that part of the chapter, because we have, should we give him context for that, or we'll probably get to that?
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys.
So if
That's
that guy
okay.
had not done that, there would be no.
Correct.
A lot of this would
Exactly.
not-
None of that.
Yeah.
And there's a few times where Argoltal's like, Angron's Knight of Primarch. And you can just hear Eric go, well, whose fucking fault is that?
I'm like, you of all people have got nothing to say, Argoltal. Fuck. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So Angron landed on the world of Nuceria. I believe that's how they pronounce it.
Oh.
Nike,
Nuceria?
Nuceria.
Nuceria.
There it is. Nuceria. I'm forgetting the I. And Nuceria is kind of an icy cold planet, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's like ruled by a aristocracy that.
And a real dickish aristocracy. Like
Yeah.
there are several Primarchs that landed on planets that are ruled by aristocracy. The Lion,
Right.
Gilliman.
Yeah.
But I mean, these guys are bastards.
Yeah, they like really removed themselves from like the rabble.
Oh yeah, they called them High Riders. That's what Angron's people called them. I'm a little. I heard it's one of the they in the book it tells what they're actually called, and it's one of those
okay.
words that I heard like 6 times and I just couldn't retain
Just didn't
it.
stick.
It did.
No.
But the Angron and his people called them High Riders because they. Well, I mean, obviously they were so high above them and rode on the
Yeah.
backs of the people.
Hoity. Yep.
And the High Riders' favorite pastime was the gladiatorial pits,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is exactly what it sounds like.
Right.
They would kidnap or take people that had martial prowess or they thought would be entertaining, or if they just needed waves of bodies to make it more entertaining.
Right.
Like this is beyond. Rome never did that shit. The gladiatorial games in Rome were considered to be an honor. Yes, gladiators were slaves, but they were also paid really well. They had sponsorships,
Yeah. They were kept like, yeah.
and gladiator combat in Rome almost never came to death.
That's right. Yeah. That is kind of
That's
the
very
misconception,
yeah,
isn't it?
that's
Yeah.
very rare because
'Cause they were
gladiators
expensive.
They were expensive. They were incredibly expensive and rare. It took a
Yeah.
lot of time to. Nobody wanted to see their investments be bled.
Right. Yeah.
So it was like that times 11. These guys. So I read that Angron's first match, he was put into a match with 100 different slaves, and they sunk the ground out of the arena, and it slowly started to fill it full of acid.
Yeah. They
Oh.
had like a ziggurat thing, right?
Right.
Which is a tiered pyramid.
Oh, okay.
And the
Cigarettes.
gladiators had to force and fight each other off of the pyramids into the acid below.
Gee whiz.
Angron, I think I remember seeing that he was 7. He would have been the equivalent of 7.
Whoa.
He was a child.
Wow.
But I mean, he's a fucking
Playing King of the
Primarch.
Hill, you know.
Yeah. King of the Hill. Right. Yeah. 7-year-olds are good at that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, so like when Angron landed, the first bout of slavers that came at him, he slew and like chased them down to kill them.
Oh, God. Fuck you.
You have to remember, as the Cult of Lord Primarch, baby.
Yeah.
I have yet to come across anything that refers to a Primarch in its baby form that says that it's bigger than any other.
Than a normal
Standard-
human baby.
And in fact, the only reference, I keep saying this, but the only reference that I find is that they just age and grow faster. That by the time they're this age, they're actually this tall. But
Right.
it doesn't say anything about them being larger than an average baby. So I just have to assume that they're being chased by this like 1 foot tall baby just screaming at them, just ripping arms and legs off of them.
Like
So
the
scared they throw themselves into the gas. Like,
Yeah.
no.
No. Keep that thing away from me. It's like the killer rabbit from
Monty
Python. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
and then you have curs like coming out of the molten ground.
Oh,
you know?
covered in magma.
Yeah.
Just Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's man.
I
One
love
of
it.
the most comical / horrifying imagery that we've run across.
Yeah,
so
and then you have
far.
like Sanguinius, who's would have looked like a cherub, a blonde-headed baby with wings, is just slaughtering these.
Face covered in little blood drops.
He would have looked like a cherub.
I think my favorite thing to come out of Cult of Lore covering the Primarchs is just imagining these little babies coming out of it and all the stupid shit that happens to them.
Little monsters.
Yeah.
Just there's something creepy about that. If I saw a superhuman baby ripping people apart, I'm not sure how I'd handle that.
In the game Dante's Inferno, did you guys ever play it?
Yeah, the ones with the scythe.
Yeah, the unbaptized babies coming up, and they have like little scythes on their arms. So they're like falling out of fireplaces and stuff.
No.
Now there is a good Halloween episode for Cult of Lore. We could do Dante's Inferno.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That would be interesting.
That's a pretty creepy game. I've seen like stills from it. And
Well, I
stuff
mean
like
the book
that,
itself.
I
read that. I read that in high school. Well, I read
Did you
it
read
in
all three?
Paradiso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could. Oh, man, that's a hard read though.
It
Yeah.
was.
Right. Yeah.
It took me a very long time, and I was very proud of that book report. And that bitch of an English teacher gave me a 0 because she didn't believe that I read it. Fuck you, lady.
Oh,
No,
call her out. Yeah,
I
that's
did.
right.
I won't call her
Yeah.
out by name. 'Cause I think
No,
she's
no.
dead now. Good riddance to you. That's what you get for that 0.
Wow.
Joke's on you.
Yeah.
Joke's on you. I'll lift you, bitch.
I'll see you when Virgil takes me down.
I'll
there.
do a podcast on that shit just
Well,
to prove it.
I mean, to be fair, she had a good long life. She was the star rolling after Indiana Jones in the first movie. She had that scene's in infamy. So she's everywhere.
There you go.
Anyway, speaking of oppressors.
Creature.
Creature.
But anyway, so Angron wins his first match, knocking everybody else into the vat of acid. And that's when that kind of sets his life on this path that's going to just wreck him from then on.
Yep.
Because he gets implanted with what is kind of their, I don't know, calling card device, would you say? It's like almost the thing they're the most proud of.
Right.
It's like what they're known for. And this is this implement called the Butcher's Nails.
Okay.
So the Butcher's
Nails.
The Butcher's Nails is what, if you look at the picture of Angron, which is right, you're going to notice that he has cables coming out of the top of his head that form dreadlocks. These are actually the ends of the Butcher's Nails. And I think there's a diagram of how they work. If so, you're going to find it right, Mir.
And if not, you're going to hear future Eric bitching.
Yeah. But anyway, basically they're like little neural implants that are directly into your brain. And by the time Angron is on the Siege of Terra, they're actually so long that they wrap down the back of his spinal cord.
Ugh.
Ooh.
And what they do is they spread like nanofibers along your neurons that stimulate pain throughout the emotional part of your brain whenever you experience any emotion for the exception of anger. And then when you actually get really angry and exercise the part of your brain that likes physical violence, it releases pulses of pleasure.
Yeah. So it basically starts just literally rewiring your brain to be rewarded by anger, punished by everything else.
Yeah. Just like a euphoria from hurting things.
Just causing harm, just gives you pleasure. And yeah, well, I hate that. It rewrites it. It's part of my argument right there is that you're starting to really fuck with the brain and alter the way that that alters the way that they think. It really does. It alters their approach to stuff or his, in this case, we're not at they yet.
Yeah. And so the implementation of this device, like basically from then on, it's over.
Right.
It really doesn't matter what the ins and outs for Angron are. If he doesn't die on this planet, he's forever fucked.
Right. Because we do find out that there's no removing them without killing him.
Even the Emperor's top scientist and the Emperor himself couldn't figure out a way to do it.
The resources of the Imperium itself can't get those out.
So Angron has the Butcher's Nails, as does most of his gladiators.
Yep.
And as Primarchs want to do, he leads a rebellion. He goes Spartacus on them, which, by the way, is a fantastic TV show.
Yeah. You guys ever seen like the old movie?
Oh, yeah. Michael Douglas.
Oh,
I am Spartacus.
I am Spartacus.
I am Spartacus. And then you know what? The Romans said, fuck it, and crucified them all.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
That's admirable, but mistaken. Like, in the end, Rome doesn't care.
Mm.
But anyway, he leads a rebellion that is not successful.
Right.
Um,
Which is interesting. That's the first time I think I've run across that so far with a Primarch in my journey through the Primarchs.
yeah, so he is the only Primarch to fail to conquer his homeworld.
Wow.
Even
That
though
kinda-
Mortarion, huh?
That kind of haunts him a little bit, doesn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So Angron is almost physically repelled by the notion of weakness. And so the fact that he couldn't do this when other Primarchs that he considers to be inferior to him could. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely fucks him up.
Burns him to no end, huh?
But his rebellion basically gets crushed all the way back to the mountains, echoing Spartacus once again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Spartacus got pushed into the mountains, although he did manage to get his way out of the mountains at least once.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure. But anyway, that's when the Emperor shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And
When his back is to the wall.
yeah.
Yep. Here comes the Emperor.
And I have to admit, this move I don't understand. I don't know why the Emperor didn't offer to help him win.
Right.
Could
Me
have.
neither.
A few custodes would have done that easy.
Right. Yeah. It wouldn't have taken much of
The
his
Emperor himself
resources.
was there, could have done it.
Yeah.
I have to admit.
I think I read that he was observing him from orbit
Right.
for a while, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm proud of him." But then, like, he saw that he was going to be dying in the next battle.
Yep.
And he was like, "He can't win this, so I'm gonna."
Right. But why couldn't the Emperor just send custodes down
he
to...
could have.
Could have.
Right. So the Emperor just the night before teleported him up, let the battle play out.
He gives him the offer first. He actually
Oh.
lands and says...
Oh, yeah.
And
That's right.
it says, like, I will take you away from all this. And Angron tells him to go pound sand, says he'd rather die with his gladiatorial brothers and sisters on this planet. And that's when the Emperor takes him.
Oh.
On the night of the battle, leaving all of his family there to die. They're all slaughtered. And we actually find out that not only were they slaughtered and they left their bones there on the mountainside just to rot, but the same family that was in charge then kept the throne and told everybody that Angron fled
And abandoned them.
and abandoned them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
This is a mistake that will come back to bite them in the ass later.
Ooh. Yeah, that pissed Angron right off.
Yeah, this is something. So I don't know what. So they did bend the knee to the Imperium because after that fight was done, they revisited.
And
It wasn't the world
planet.
eaters though.
Right. No, they wouldn't have
They wouldn't have
they would-
survived.
yeah, they wouldn't have let that planet live or at the very least let that same family keep their seat of power.
No chance.
No
so
way.
they pledged allegiance all while talking smack.
That is jeez.
Bad idea.
Mm.
Bad
Yeah.
idea.
Man.
Especially because like you have to know that because you know how strong he is. You know,
yeah.
he was grown by the time the Emperor took him. So you got to see full fucking Primarch Angron.
Right.
You know you put the butcher's nails in his head. You know that you
Right.
slaughtered his family.
You know what the butcher's nails do to people.
Yeah, and you know that he now has access to the Imperial Army.
Yeah. I don't know
Why
what the
you
hell
would
they were
continue to talk shit about him is beyond me.
Arrogance.
They
Extreme arrogance.
thinking. I mean, right?
they
yeah.
would have to know
Ugh.
that he was a Primarch. There's no way they didn't. Because they would have had to have encountered another Primarch.
Yeah, and it's pretty well known among like the people where the Primarchs that know about Primarchs where they typically came from and stuff, and so the
Yeah.
aristocracy they would have been in the know.
They would
They
have
been.
had to have.
Yeah,
And so it had to be, Jerry, you got to be right. It's got to be just pure arrogance that they thought that he wouldn't come back.
Yeah, like they were blinded by something they were feeling.
yeah,
Stupidity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stupidity.
Pure, unadulterated stupidity.
yeah. But he was also somebody that like they had looked at as beneath them before. You know,
I mean, sure. Jesus Christ. Again, you have to know that now he has the backing of the Imperium. So it's like,
right?
anyway, Angron watches from orbit as the battle goes down, and this throws him into a melancholy. He kills everybody that comes in to try to talk to him, who's not the Emperor.
Yeah,
Kills Custodes, the chapter master of the word bearer of the world leaders. He gets not killed, but he gets put into his dreadnought to save his life.
Jesus.
And it's not until Karn I like Karn. Karn's cool.
Yeah.
Karn's a good character. I like Karn a lot. Karn, who is the first captain, decides to go in and try to broker peace with Angron.
Oh, okay.
Angron immediately starts attacking him, starts beating the shit out of him. Karn doesn't fight back, but instead he starts listing all of his accolades.
Oh.
He says, like, I fought on this battle, I've killed this many enemies, I've done this, I've done that, because basically he's figured out that the problem is that Angron doesn't respect anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Karn basically lays out his accolades as like, and so if you're going to kill me, you're going to at least know who I am. And that was enough for Angron to kind of be like, okay, maybe they aren't quite so pathetic.
Yeah, he's starting to warm up to the idea.
Yeah.
Sure, that's a overstatement, but yeah. He's decided not to kill them on sight.
He does respect balls. He does.
He does. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lutara, when she's shit talking, he's like, I've noticed you got braver when I'm 4,000 miles away.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
She's like, that's right.
The commander of his flagship.
She's a stone cold bitch, but I love her as a character.
Yeah.
She doesn't give a. She walks up to a space marine and he's like one of the champions of the world eaters, and she just spits on his boots and like calls him names. Oh. And then sends him to his room.
Yeah.
What?
And she's a human. She is just unaugmented human.
Completely unaugmented.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes cojones.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that's why Angron actually really likes her.
Yeah. It's kind of what makes her perfect for these guys, because she won't take any guff. She's not afraid. And she knows what she's doing. You know, she's just very competent. Yeah.
Yeah. She's one of the youngest captains, let alone to captain a flagship.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But we'll get to Lutara.
Okay, yeah.
So he takes control of what is then the Warhounds, renames them the World Eaters.
Yep.
You know where that name comes from?
Where?
When he was rebelling on the planet, he named his gladiator rebellion the City Eaters.
So he one-ups him.
Yep. So when he takes everything, he's like, well, we're the World Eaters.
Okay.
Yeah. Thought that was kind of neat.
That is cool. Yeah. Nice escalation there.
Right. So Angron is not a good Primarch not to his sons. He doesn't like them. He doesn't know hardly any of them. And he's unimpressed with their performance. And so to up their performance and improve their loyalty, he makes them all get the butcher's nails. Well, actually, so he doesn't. I'll correct that right off the bat. He doesn't force anybody. Nobody. It's not a command.
Oh, okay.
But it is seen as it is not.
Okay.
But it's considered a loyalty test.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Wow. And they all complied because they wanted to like find some way to connect with them.
They thought that Karn has this moment where he basically lays it out in very blunt terms, where he's like, we all thought that by breaking ourselves in the same way that our Primarch was broken, we could find a way to reach him. And we were wrong.
Oh.
And that
would be such a big sacrifice.
It was huge.
Boy, that's heartbreaking
And for it
too.
not to work out.
Yeah.
That'd be bad.
Yeah. So they sign on to get the butcher's nails, except for a lot of the librarians don't. And that's because, as it turns out, that putting butcher's nails into the brain of a psyker is a bad idea.
What happens?
They lose control.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It makes them just go psycho. So on the battlefield, they were like bursting into flames, or they just start hosing their own troops. And like the world eaters
their heads would pop.
Yeah, the world eaters are okay with a little bit of friendly fire, but it was getting to stupid levels.
Right.
So,
and it was like guaranteed to happen not terribly long after they had them put in. Like,
it could happen out of battle.
Yeah. Yeah, they could just be sitting there and then explosion.
That would be bad.
Flames, electric.
Whatever.
On
Yeah.
a ship, that'd be even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
so it was like
a lot of them didn't do it, and then very quickly the ones that did were kind of flushed out of the Legion.
Yeah.
Because of their survival rate.
Now, I thought it was most of them that tried.
Most of them, but there was a large section of them that
didn't. Right, because they're just like, we can do the math here.
Yeah, there was a large section of there was most of them did, but there was a large portion of them that didn't.
Right,
but they were killed off.
Yeah. Okay.
World leaders didn't trust their psychers anyway.
Right,
and so a lot of them died either because they weren't protected, I suspect a lot of them were killed just outright on the battlefield and were blamed either on the butcher's nails or on the enemy. There are some that up to the betrayer point that managed to kind of fade into the background and do the best they can. That all comes to a grinding halt once Angron ascends to demonhood, because then he basically encircles them all and hunts them down. Sort of. It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
The final stand of the World Eater Psychers is not glorious.
No.
So he puts in the butcher's nails, and there's a lot that goes on. They take on many planets. The bloodshed becomes greater and greater. On both sides, the World Eaters start killing Imperium troops just as much as they do the enemy. And that leads to another defining moment for Angron, I think. And that's the Night of the Wolf.
Yeah.
Angron versus Leman Russ.
Ooh, I don't know anything about this.
Oh, okay.
And World Eaters versus
World Eaters versus the
Space
Volca Fenrica.
Yeah.
And watching Eric listen to this was fascinating because he loves Leman Russ.
He's my guy.
Yeah.
I was
Thor.
disagreeing with him.
But that argument, there's a lot more argument in it than you would suspect.
Yeah. It came down to like a debate over ideals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, Angron was, because he was obviously never quite, he was like, all right, I'll be your attack dog, but he was never quite on board with
He wasn't
the
a believer.
Emperor's, like, yeah. And, he basically like called out the Emperor to Leman, of course, for being like, this guy's a tyrant. That, tithes, he's like, yeah, okay, tithes or recruitment or whatever you want to call it. It's all, cover it up with the fancy word compliance. It's slavery.
Yeah, he's like, do we offer them a choice? Do we,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
he's like,
not
what do we
into
tell
that.
him? We tell him to stand down and join up or be destroyed. He's like, that's not freedom.
Nope.
Yeah. And I'll give Leman this. He kind of, he gets one on Angron where he kind of is like, you're not free. Look at you with those nails and what you did to your sons.
Yeah, he's like,
you took away their freedom.
how dare you judge our father for being a tyrant? Look at what you're doing to your sons.
Calls him a hypocrite.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he does.
That's basically,
And he's right.
yeah. It's that scene from Ninja Turtles where Raph and Leo are arguing and Michael and Donnie goes, he's right.
He's right.
They're both right. Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, it really is. And I hate it. Like, when I first started this Warhammer journey, I'd never thought that I'd find myself agreeing more with a character like Angron over Leman Russ, who I was introduced to very early on in my journey. And I love his ideals. I love what he stands for. He is brave and bold and cunning, and he doesn't, lord his intelligence over people. As a matter of fact, often they think he's quite stupid.
Yep.
But it's really cool seeing these two like icons of barbarian, the barbarian warrior trope, like kind of facing off and having such different stances. And I did not think I'd come down on the side of Angron, but I'm like, man, you're right.
That makes
especially
a good
from his
story.
perspective. Yeah, it does make a good story, doesn't it? Like from his perspective, this is absolutely tyranny, and that's what he was fighting against from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, Leman is 100% right. And I would argue that if Angron had conquered Nuceria,
Yeah. Would he have been
he would not have been.
Yeah.
It's not like he would have been some benevolent ruler. That
Right.
Everybody would have been free to be farmers. Like, come on, get out of here. Would you have just let the High Riders retire? Would you? Is that right?
No punishment, just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's one of the things that I really love about the Primarchs is they're all hypocrites
Mm-hmm.
except for one.
Wonder who that is.
Except for one. I won't say it. We all know who he is.
I
He's
can
got
kind of
wings.
see him peeking in right now.
He's gonna peek in, right? Yeah. Oh, we praise his name.
He sang his prayers.
Yeah.
Ah.
But yeah, so it's with Leman, he's the alpha wolf, right? He's the leader of the pack, but he's also the most loyal. Like he would never turn
Yeah,
against the
he
Emperor.
is second to the Emperor
And
at
so-
the very least.
Is he really the alpha if he's leashed so hard?
Exactly. I mean, there's a reason why he's more Thor than he is Odin,
Right.
you know?
But is he even leashed? Because it's like, well, I'm not leashed. This is what I want to do.
Right.
If I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't. I don't know that.
That's fair.
The only time Lehman does things that he doesn't want to do is when he feels there's a moral conviction to do so.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And, I think that's something Angron pointed out, too, was that, you're just free because your idea of freedom is in line with the Emperor's. Like, your choices are in line with what the Emperor wants. So you get to feel like you're free, in so many words. I think there was something in there to that effect.
Oh, there definitely was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did say that. He said you're free because your version of freedom matches the Emperor's.
Right. There it is. Yeah.
But
Which is also correct.
It is, but the thing is, and I mean, it's funny. It's almost laughable to say so, though. But Angron just can't. He doesn't realize he can't empathize at all with the fact that Lehman really does. Lehman understands that Angron sees the world this way,
right?
And he's not even really condemning him for it, other than saying like you have a warped view.
Yeah,
he's like, but I'm not here about that. You're allowed to believe what you want.
Yeah,
I just want you to stop putting the butcher's nails into your sons.
Right. Yeah. Which
he's like, I think you're wrong, but as long as you're not actively hurting anybody, I don't care what you believe.
Right.
So I still side with Lehman on this one.
I mean, yeah, okay. If we are going to boil it down to the purpose of him, what he was there for, he was there for a good reason that I agree with. Like, he should not be, Angron should not be continuing the suffering that it's kind of like generational abuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where that's not a nice metaphor, but a well-done
it's a fitting metaphor.
Yeah. So,
it's like end the cycle.
End the cycle.
But we'll find out. We'll find out where that section is. We'll have you listen to it because it's definitely worth a listen to.
Yeah.
And Aaron Dembski-Bowden is a good writer. And was it Jonathan Keeble that did that one?
Ooh.
It was my man, Jonathan Keeble.
Yeah.
You can if any of the books that are written by Dembski-Bowden and then narrated by Jonathan Keeble, those are always so good to listen to. Jonathan Keeble's the man. He's such a good narrator. I love him. So after we're done with this, we'll have you listen. It's definitely worth to listen to.
Cool.
Yeah. I love his Angron voice. What's so good?
Oh yeah, his Angron fantastic. So Lehman shows up to try to convince him to come back to Terra to work on the butcher's nails and also to get him to stop doing this to his sons.
Right.
This leads to a fight. Naturally.
Yeah.
And the long and the short of it is Lehman is not trying to kill Angron. To all you world eaters out there who's like, oh, Angron beat the shit out of Lehman. It is very easy to beat the crap out of somebody who is not trying to kill you when you're trying to kill them. Does that mean that I think that Lehman could take Angron? Not necessarily. But to point to this as definitive proof that Lehman couldn't.
This isn't a good context.
This isn't it. This isn't it, fellas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Lehman was not trying to kill him.
Yeah. So he was probably
but he could have.
Right.
He did. Like whether or not it's regardless of whether or not he could take him on a one-on-one fight, Lehman won. Because what Angron did was get himself completely surrounded. While Lehman and Angron were fighting, the wolves were pushing the world eaters back and surrounding Angron.
Okay.
And Lehman. The world eaters were so just intent on fighting, they didn't give a shit about their Primarch and didn't try to defend him at all.
Yeah.
And so what happened is Angron winds up with Lehman on his back, and Lehman is like, look around. Look at where you are. And Angron is just surrounded by wolves, all of them pointing their guns at him. He's like, don't you, this is what I'm trying to teach you. Look at your sons. They don't even know enough to try to defend you.
Yeah, because when you get the butcher's nails, you kind of lose a bit of reason.
Right.
Sometimes
lost to the nails.
Lost to the nails. Sometimes you lose all reason.
It's like a berserker rage kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And that's something that happened in that book, The Betrayer, over and over again. It's something I just wrote down. Like they're just prone to traps. They're prone to just charging headlong into traps, and they don't see it. And that was what Lehman was intending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he showed it to him by example.
And Angron let him go.
Yeah.
And so there's a really good moment where Logar is like talking to Angron about this in hindsight, right? Yeah. He's talking to him about it in hindsight. And Angron's like, he said it with his tail between his legs. And Logar's like, you idiot. And it's funny because Logar just like almost has a breakdown with him. He's just like, no, you moron. He could have had you. He could have had you a dozen times. He could have had you here. He could have had you here.
Like, you don't get it. Get it through your thick skull. one of the holes in your head, maybe you can get it through. Like, you fell headfirst into his trap. You did exactly what he wanted you to do.
Yep.
Yeah. If you were going to fight, he didn't want you to fight. So not exactly, but like if you were going to fight, it played out exactly the way he wanted. You don't see that because you're just too full of rage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so this leads pretty much into the Horus Heresy. Angron took no convincing whatsoever to side with Horus.
Oh,
Right.
I could see him not, he's already not super loyal to him.
Right. Yeah. He's already kind of like, fuck that guy. So,
And so he
There
sides
he
with
goes.
Horus. Logar is really the only one that's actually like friends with Angron.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
He goes on a quest. He realizes that the butcher's nails are killing him. Angron's getting worse. He's reasoning less. And so he develops a plan to save his life, which involves turning him into a demon Primarch.
Yep. Into a giant angry T-Rex with wings.
And this really is the kind of width of the book Betrayer is what this kind of era.
Yeah. It kind of covers. I love the metaphor that they use where Lorgar is he's composing a song now. He's found that like by creating more suffering and like overloading a planet with like battle and death and
Pain.
suffering and pain, that he can like kind of
Manipulate the warp.
thin the veil between it, gives him more, like, it seems to give him more psychic power and stuff, but he also, and it's the whole metaphor is a song, he's building to a crescendo.
He can actually hear it.
Yeah And it was cool. There was one part of this book where he's like, I think his eyes were closed or he was looking up or he was meditating or something, and he could just feel each life extinguishing and stuff like that from
he
different.
hears them as notes, and so he could actually go into the note and be like, this is the sound of a person as they die in flames on Nuceria. Like,
Yeah.
I just pictured him like popping little bubble wrap.
Little sound waves. And
now there's an image. Logar with just a giant sheet of bubble wrap with little faces in it. Just
Got little runes on it.
Yep. But then the book does something really cool, which is in the actual prose of the book, a lot of the times the battles are described, like things happening in the battles are kind of described with words you would use to describe music or an instrument being played or something like that. I can't think of any good examples right now, but it was just kind of woven into the way
they
that
would
things
say
were
like
described.
the bolters would sound like drums in short staticato bursts.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sound of ceramite ringing like bells.
There we go. Exactly. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it was something I picked up on as we would go, and I was like, oh, cool, they're keeping the song in mind even when we're not with Lorgar, where it's like really apparent because he's thinking in those terms. So it's like these battles really are the instruments being played as it builds. It was so good. Well written.
Yeah,
well
we get
written.
several good battle scenes of the Wool Eaters kind of. What? Go ahead.
No.
Oh. Well, don't stand there with your mouth open. What's wrong with
I
you?
was just breathing.
We're mouth breathing today. It's an Angron episode.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, my God. Shoot. Kill them all. That's it. I understand it now.
You've activated my trap card.
So we get a lot of good scenes of Angron before the Demon Primarch. This is pretty much at his worst.
Mhm.
He's going off on his own. He's ripping apart bodies and eating them in the middle of battle.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some Primarchs eat people.
A well-balanced diet. I don't.
Yeah, there's one where they're like, Angron is attacking the enemy. He's eating the dead. And Karn's just like, are you serious?
It's like, yeah, he's eating people over there. That's where he's at.
We're going to just ignore him.
keep fighting.
It was funny. One of the Lost to the Butcher's Nails moments involved Karn. He comes out of it. Like the book brings you right into the middle of a battle, and he's just like coming out of it. He's like, oh, well, yeah. And he has no idea like where he is. And
He's trying to get a hold of people. Like,
he's like, looking around, there's nobody around. There's like a destroyed tank. And he finally gets a hold of a guy whose name is Skane, Skane in this book is like the voice of Doom. But he's really funny. He's sarcastic, but he just always delivers bad news. And Karn's like, I have no idea where I am or if we're even winning. And Skane goes, he's like, well, you're at such and such. And as for the last one, I can answer that. We are most definitely not winning.
For sure.
definitely not.
And he has several moments like that. Like they're fighting a bunch of things and they're fighting a bunch of Ultramarines and they're like, how could this get any worse? And Skate's just like, oh, don't worry, it gets better. And then Titan's foot comes down.
Oh, no.
The World
Yep.
Eaters are a funny group.
Are they?
They are fun to follow in battle. Yeah, they're kind of quippy and crazy, and yeah.
Yeah, you have another character whose name is Kargos. He's their apothecary, but he more often just makes fun of injuries rather than trying to help them.
Oh, that's embarrassing. Your bones are on the outside.
Yeah, it's like one of the characters gets his arm cut off, and he just goes, "Oh, you're gonna need an augmetic for that," and just laughs.
It's like, dear Lord.
But through the whole, they're going to Armatura is the first planet, and Logar has just kind of given up on trying to corral the World Eaters, but he wants them with him because they're so good at causing blood and pain. And while they don't like Psychers, they're not like the Night Lords. The Night Lords just won't work with people.
Okay.
Won't work with Psychers, won't work with anybody. So, because ideally, I think if I were interested in suffering, I would take the Night Lords over the World Eaters.
Right.
But if your idea is to also conquer, you're going to need the World Eaters. Night Lords, not really their thing.
Yeah.
But he's given up on that entirely. And he comes up with a plan on how to save Angron's life. And so he takes him to Nuceria, Angron's home planet, which Angron has not visited since being abducted by the Emperor.
So
He never went back.
How's Nuceria now?
There are no more gladiator pits.
Mhm.
The butcher's nails are a thing of the past because it was 100 years ago, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah, 100 years.
But other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same.
Oh, no.
Same family is ruling, same
Yep.
caste system, and
Slaves.
slaves. He lands, him, Logar, and the people that accompany them land on what was the final battlefield, and he finds all of their bones just laying there.
Oh, no.
And he storms the capital.
Yeah.
Keep it, he doesn't attack anybody. He's actually, I actually kind of commend Angron for the fact that he saw that battlefield the way it was, and he got mad as fuck. Like, he started screaming to the sky and like going on this rant. You outrider, high rider bastards. Just starts going, but he doesn't immediately launch into killing everybody, which is pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of self-restraint.
It
That
is.
Yeah. He wanted answers, damn it.
He did. And
Yeah.
so they wind up at the Capitol Palace, and it's like a 12-year-old boy is king or some
I
shit.
know. There's just like a child that's actually officially on the seat.
Okay.
Yep. Little boy.
And so imagine having Angron and Argoltal, and
Ugh.
Karn, and Logar just come marching in. They are all just silent. And it's actually really funny because Angron's like, who's in charge here? And the kid just immediately starts crying.
He's like, oh, fuck. It's
He's like, I'm so dead.
I want my mom.
His mom was there.
Oh,
She's the one who ultimately ended up emptying her bladder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She fucked up so bad.
I mean, what do you do? What do you do? So-
Anything you do anything but what this woman did.
Yeah.
Literally walk
So-
up and kick him in the balls before you do what this woman did.
That would have probably gained his respect.
It would have been better.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, you go ahead.
Well, so she's like, they recognize who he is,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But they're also in kind of denial, and she's like, no, you can't be him. You can't be him.
That was 100 years
That
ago.
was 100 years ago. And she's like, Angron, what you actually have probably his other name. Is it
I got it.
Angronius?
Angronius?
Yes.
Nuceria?
Yeah. So
Oh.
she said he fled that battle and never returned.
Hey, what?
And Angron has his back to her, and he just goes, what? And turns and looks at her, and she immediately just loses control of her bowels.
Oh, God. I imagine the look in his eye. Like,
Right?
And he
Like,
walks up to her just like real slow. He's like, say that again. He like takes her hand in his head. He's like,
yeah, just wraps his head around her, or hand around her head.
and he's just like, say it. And she won't say it again. And he just slowly crushes her head in his hand.
oh, God.
Crumbles. Yep.
and then moves on to the next person.
Ah.
It's like, say what she said. And they're like, no. And he's like, okay, crunch.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Nope. Backhands somebody to the, across the room and
Karn.
ends up
Backhands Karn.
backhands Karn across the room.
Karn actually is
Yep.
stepping up. He's like, sire, we should wham. Just sends him flying.
Oh Jesus.
And he just goes on a rage. I loved how he started kind of reliving things there. Like he was just like screaming out memories of like, we were holed up in the mountains and stuff. He's like, I remember he so-and-so went blind when I crushed out his eyes. And then he started just doing the screams that the guy like, mercy, Angron, smush.
Oh, yeah.
He was like full-blown PTSD. It felt
Yeah.
like just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's having an episode.
And,
Yeah.
and again, Jonathan Keeble's Angron is just
Oh,
on
I
point.
like it.
If I had to pick one person for his voice, it would be that just the way he did that whine to his voice.
Creature.
Yeah. And then so he just launches into a rage and he's like, kill everybody in the city and then kill everybody in the planet.
Yep.
Oh, like a ordered exterminatus. But
Yep.
Yeah.
Boots on the
But
ground.
with,
exterminatus.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Which plays into what Lorgar
Rogar
wanted.
wants.
That's more suffering than orbital bombardment.
And it's even more than that. We find out that he's actually working on trying to rile up Angron's emotional state.
Yeah,
he's trying to ramp him up.
Yes.
he is.
Oh.
He's actually like doing all. Yeah, that's why that planet was chosen and stuff, and he knew what he'd find there. And then like as things progress, like Lorgar's actually making choices that are just pushing those buttons to amp him up.
It's
and
why
up and
he
up.
takes after him about the Night of the Wolf. It's why
Yeah.
he takes him to Nuceria.
This is all by design.
It is.
Yeah. This
Like
is where Lorgar starts. I know I sympathized with Lorgar in the Lorgar episode, but fuck Lorgar here. Like, he's probably being played too. He wants, it's like the Anakin thing. I have to save Padme. I'll do anything. And they're like, oh, you could do this.
Just kill all those children.
It's fine.
He'll save her.
Yeah.
And
So Padme didn't turn into a monster.
was it on Nuceria where he... Yes, it was. Okay, so one of the things that it's important to remember is that Nuceria is really close to Ultramar.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so the whole time, while they're engaging on this exterminatus on the planet, the Ultramarines and Gilliman show up along with Titans. Like, this becomes a shit show.
Oh no.
Yeah. And the Ultramarines have some vengeance to do too.
They have a giant axe to grind, especially against the Word Bearers.
Yeah.
Because that was right after the massacre on Calth. The Logar basically, the first real outside betrayal
Right.
of the heresy.
Right. Big old battle. And Angron and Lorgar had feet on the ground in that battle directly. Yeah.
Yep. They weren't on Calth.
No.
They fought in the battle for Calth, but they weren't on Calth itself.
Oh, okay. So that's not the time Angron was like digging his way into the planet.
No, that was on that was on Nuceria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
Gotcha.
was on Nuceria.
Yeah, right.
So what he's talking about is Angron, it's the moment where they actually become brothers, I think, Logar and Angron. Angron gets buried. We don't know how. He comes out of the Butcher's Nails rage underground, and Logar lands to dig him out.
Mhm.
Logar gets toasted by 2 blasts of plasma from a Titan.
Oh.
Yeah. Trying to help because he's trying to undig, because Angron just, while he was trying to dig his way out of some rubble or something, like started just digging downwards.
Yeah, like
And
when
in
he
his rage
came to, he's like 60 meters underground. And then by
Yeah.
the time, like all of the all the World Eater Psychers coalesce their minds together to kind of get a hold of Angron.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And they're like, when you started, you were 60 meters down. Now you're 200.
Yeah.
Stop digging.
Okay.
Like they're just like, you have to like snap out of it. You're still,
so they're trying to bring him out of the butcher nails.
Right.
berserk?
Yeah.
And- well, it's not the Butcher's Nails Berserk. He panics.
Oh, okay.
He actually panics underground because he
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
like being
that's true.
constrained.
Yeah, that's true.
And so
That
he's
is
just
right,
like,
yeah.
anything but this, and just starts digging. Doesn't care what direction.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but they did manage to reach him. He's a hard guy to reach in there.
Yep. And so he starts digging in the right direction.
Yeah.
And Logar realizes he can feel in the warp that Angron is in danger because Angron would have come out right in time to be blasted by those Titans.
Right. Yeah.
And so Logar goes to dig him out, gets toasted twice, and right when the Titan goes to step on him, Angron busts out of the ground and lifts the foot of the Titan.
Ooh. just like hold it up and like, Logar, get the fuck up, Logar.
Yeah. And it's funny. Logar like raises his hand to use his psychic powers to help Angron, and Angron's like, now you choose to be brave. Get out of here.
So it's like such a nice moment of like brotherly love among these trader
It's cool because we've talked about this moment before.
We have. You're right.
Yep. This is from Angron's point of view.
Yeah.
And there's a nice moment where the Titan comes down and Angron saves Logar. Logar's like limping his ass to a ship to get back out. And Angron looks, calls to him and he says, try not to die before I get back, which is about as nice as Angron gets.
Yeah.
Although there is one time where Angron offers his hand to Logar, and Logar's like, none of my brothers would believe that he's even capable of such a thing. But they're on Nuceria, and I mean, like, it goes to shit.
Yeah.
The Conqueror, which is the World Eater's flagship, gets just destroyed. I mean, it doesn't literally get destroyed, but I mean, like, by the time the Ultramarines are like running away, they're basically bravadoing their way through. They're like, yeah, come at us. And then when the Ultramarines run, they're like, oh, thank God.
Because we didn't have shit.
They're like, how's the weapon?
Shields, no weapons.
Yeah, they're like, shields, dead. Engines, dead. Weapons, malfunctioning. Well, it's a good thing they ran, huh?
This is convenient.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Didn't the World Eaters lose a flagship?
The Word Bearers.
Word Bearers is what I meant to say.
The Word Bearers did. Yeah, they lost. Yeah. Although Logar had 3 because he's a prusy bitch.
They were huge too. They were big ones. They were all three. All three.
It's hard to comprehend the size, but Magnus, who's a Primarch, was like, what the fuck are those things? And so that
is the best we can get as far as like
for you to appreciate how big these things must be.
Yeah. They were even like, all right, it's going to land in the ocean. Okay. How close to the coast? And it's like kilometers and kilometers. And they're like, shit.
Yeah, they're like, all right, everybody stop fighting on the East Coast and move it to the West. We're going to start getting tsunami waves.
What a thing to call out.
Yeah. Just like.
Hey, there's going to be a natural disaster over there. Semi-unnatural.
Yeah.
Might want to move.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Hup to.
Yeah, although you have to imagine that everybody was just like, no, yeah, we see it. No, yeah, coming down on this side. No, thanks.
That's a 10-4, good buddy.
Yeah. Oh, the moon is falling? No, I'm glad you said something.
Yeah.
Never would have been able
Wouldn't
to
have noticed. Yeah, that was the first time the clouds really parted that day, but not the last.
Not the last. And so Gilliman shows up and then starts, and I got to give Gilliman credit for this. He, for a good minute, fights Logar and Angron together.
Cool.
Although something happens that leads me to believe that Logar was actually hampering Angron, Logar actually steps out of the fight and starts chanting. And Angron steps up and then actually starts beating Gilliman.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if Logar wasn't getting in his way.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a moment that was like pretty directly, at least implied to.
Well, there's some of that Logar, I think, was doing on purpose.
Right. Yeah.
But I think some of it was he's just... sometimes when you have somebody who's not good at fighting, they get in the way. They block better shots of somebody just by virtue of being in the wrong place.
Yeah, I get you.
He's not the best combatant.
He is not.
He is not.
Although by the time you get to him in this book, he has stepped his game up quite a bit.
Yeah, he's gotten much more sorcerery.
Yep, Thunderhawks are shooting at him, and so he's just grabbing them and wrenching them out of the sky with using just powers. Yep. So he's doing a lot better.
Yeah,
he's not quite the puss that he was on Ispan.
No, he's not.
And the whole time that Angron and Gilliman are fighting, like the world starts fucking up. It starts raining blood.
Yep.
The sky
tears open into the warp is really coming through.
Yeah, you can see like
it's a blood rain. That's crazy.
And in the blood rain, there's like faces and hands that are like crawling along the ground, crawling towards Angron as he's fighting Gilliman.
What?
Yeah.
And Angron just doesn't. He's so full of rage and just trying to kill Gilliman. He doesn't.
Blind to everything.
Yep. Doesn't even notice.
Lorgar's just chanting words he didn't even know.
Yeah,
this
they were
point.
names of the Neverborn that he was
That was it.
commanding to come and lend their power to him.
Yeah.
And so
He's saving Angron, though.
he is. And the straw that breaks the camel's back is Angron finally gets the killing blow on Gilliman, and Logar purposely stops it and allows Gilliman to escape.
Oh,
Which, what do you think? How do you think Angron feels about that?
probably a little miffed.
Yeah.
A little miffed.
This so remember
Just miffed enough.
Just
Yep, just enough to put him right over that edge. So you know how, like we said earlier, that he was poking him about the Night of the Wolf.
yeah.
So that was one Primarch that, even though he won, still escaped.
Oh,
And so here was another, and that was just enough to send him careening over the chasm and become a demon Primarch.
Yep. The transformation began like literally right there. It's like, I'm going to punch you and kill you. And nope. And then he just shakes with rage. I can almost imagine that moment of him just like eyes wide at the heavens, like, fuck.
Yeah, it really is just all that frustration just screamed into the sky, and then it becomes a torrent of fire from the sky that it just envelops him.
Yep.
so then he's the Daemon Prince of
He's
Corn.
he spends the rest of that chapter transforming quite terrifyingly into
Yeah,
one.
it's almost like a Dragon Ball Z power up.
yeah, it is. That's so
It's that
great.
constant,
Takes the whole episode.
just the yelling through the whole thing.
Yeah, they just keep talking about what he's becoming, and like even the one line I thought was funny was like, lightning was even coming down and striking him, and Lorgar hadn't expected that.
Yeah, he's like, even Logar hadn't expected that.
Yeah. And
But while this is happening, the last of the World Eaters librarians have kind of figured out what Logar's up to, and they launch an assault at Logar to try to stop him.
yeah,
They get close.
they do. They catch him off guard and then get
Manage to blow one of his hands off.
Yep, that's right. They do. Yeah.
But unfortunately, he gets help from Angron.
Yep. Oh, that's so terrible. That's like your own dad turning against you.
Yep. Angron comes out of the flames and he sees these guys attacking his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time he really stands up for him as a brother.
Right. Yeah.
And he says, "You're all traitors for attacking him." And he surrounds them all in a ring of fire and all of the other World Eaters are basically standing on the outside of the fire. And anytime any of the librarians try to escape, they just shove them right back in.
Oh,
Yep. Their own brothers are pushing them back through the flame. Like, they're not even bothering to kill them. They're just pushing them back. No, he wants you.
For the exception of Karn.
Yeah.
Karn just stands there and watches.
Yeah.
He knows he can't stop it. It's too late for that. I don't think he actually pushes anybody back in.
I don't think so. I don't
And
recall.
he just stands there and watches as all of the librarians. A few of them are characters you follow for a minute.
Yeah.
And like one of them, his head just basically melts in the presence of Angron.
Yeah. Like a lot of them. Yeah. They're just like getting aneurysms and like like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just there's so much warp energy going on. Yeah. They're
like in the crossfire of this huge warp event that's
yeah.
happening.
Yeah. And he's like viciously going after them too. Like, nah, it's my brother. Fuck you,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that ends with Angron being chained in the bottom of Logar's flagship because he just cannot be let loose.
For everyone else's protection. Yeah. He's like, nah, it's just like what Lehman, or no, it wasn't Lehman Russ who made the point. Who was it? Anyway, it's exactly what he was doing for the Emperor.
Logar made that point.
That was
Karn was chewing out Logar, after the battle. He's like, "What did you do to him?" Like all this stuff. And Logar's like, "Is there any difference between what's happening with him now and what was happening with him before?" He was just locked up until it was time to slaughter a new civilization. And then he's unleashed.
Yeah.
Oh, what a point.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The only difference is now he actually enjoys it and he doesn't feel the pain of the butcher's nails.
Oh.
Yeah. No, yeah. He wants for the first time because he did not. He hated every day that he lived past that, what was supposed to be the final stand on that planet. He's like, that's why part of why he's so angry outside of like, obviously the butcher's nails, it's like but for the first time again, it feels to me like he's like, okay, no, I'm back on board. I like this thing call it a life. Let's end the rest of it.
Got something new to live for.
Yeah. Yep. And he demands 300 skulls
For a skull throne.
for a skull throne.
Yep. And Angron in the World Eaters basically write out their path of carnage all the way to Terra.
Sweet.
Angron is a major figure in the Siege of Terra. He fights Sanguinius on the siege on the palace. I'm not going to dive into that into great detail because you have to go listen to our review of Echoes of Eternity if you want to listen to that.
Ooh, there you go. All right.
But it was great. It was good.
Yeah.
And that is Angron's conclusion for the Horus Heresy. He's down and out after that fight. He loses naturally.
Naturally. Poor Angron.
And so that kind of ends his tale for the Horus Heresy. Well, actually, it doesn't kind of end it. It strictly ends it. And that ends where we're going to leave off with his tale.
Right.
Obviously, this is just a part one. Part two, what happens with Angron after that? And actually, there's another reason why I want to do this. There is currently, right now, some developing things with Angron. He has returned twice since then to the Materium realm and the planet of Armageddon. And I think it's been leaked, rumored, hinted, he's coming back or is already back in the current timeline.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Scary.
So it seems like,
That sounds
and I believe I read that he's actually bound to the planet of Armageddon in some way.
Huh. Okay.
So we have a lot more to catch up with Angron on for part two.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Jerry, you got a list of some stuffs, some things.
This guy had a lot of nicknames.
He did. Does.
Yeah. Obviously he's the demon Primarch of Corn.
Yeah.
Demon-
That's
yeah.
probably an official title.
Yeah.
Corn. Shocker.
The Red Angel.
Oh, I remember that one. Somebody said something about like he doesn't like that one. He's like, there's already an angel. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the Sanguinius, right? So he probably disdains that.
Right, but also there is a
Yeah.
demon called the Red Angel.
Oh.
Oh.
He is actually inhabiting the body of a character that I really like, whose name is Miros.
Oh, okay.
Or was during the Horus Heresy, and he actually offered to fight Angron over it if
The title?
if Angron felt that they couldn't share it.
Oh. okay.
Oh. Huh. Interesting. Kind of respectable.
Yeah, but Angron was like, I don't fuck. I don't care.
I don't care that much about it. His original name was Angronius of Nuceria.
Yeah, that was his proper high rider
Yeah.
given name.
Yeah.
His tittle. Lord of the Red Sands, which is because in the gladiator pit, I think the sands were red with blood.
Ah,
Oh.
okay. Cool.
I don't
That
think
makes
it actually
sense.
had red sand. It was just red from all the blood from the gladiator pit.
And also, I think
Ah.
Armageddon is now a red planet.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Oh, okay.
Cool. Primarch of the World Eaters Traitor Legion.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
Angron Thalkir, which is Child of the Mountain. That was from when they had fled to the mountains on Nuceria.
Oh.
Yeah, he got that one.
Okay.
Huh.
That's neat.
And the Unbeaten was another thing they called him when he was in the gladiator pits.
Okay,
Because he was just undefeated.
not
Ah.
true now.
Yeah.
Not true now.
But in those pits. Yeah. Interesting. The Unbeaten.
Yep. So those are all the nicknames I found. There might be more.
Oh, I'm sure there probably is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then I have a list of all the weapons that he has carried. He's carried a lot of them.
Right,
Yes.
which is unusual for Primarchs.
Yeah.
Right?
Primarchs are usually very, very specific about their weapons. You have Forge Breaker, you have the Blade and Carmine, you have Mercy and Forgiveness,
Oh, yep. Yep.
you have Kraken Maul, you have Mjolnir,
Yeah.
you have the Dionysian Spear.
And
So
these are all.
These are all Primarch weapons.
Yeah. And they're very like revered. and
Uldrak
kept up
from
and-
Vulcan.
Uldrak?
Uldrak, that's his
Uldrak.
hammer.
That's cool. Oh, ooh.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the fact that he goes through so many is unique for him. And that comes from their Nucerian background. They don't really care for weapons too much. And in fact, if one is broken or abandoned, it's actually tradition to not.
I think he got most of these like after leaving Nuceria.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's where they got the they don't, it's
That's why he keeps
Nucerian.
leaving them when
Yeah,
they
it's Nucerian
break.
tradition to just abandon them,
Okay,
not
they're just
keep
a
them.
tool and
Yep. It's
Yeah.
actually considered bad luck
to keep a weapon.
to keep a weapon that's broken or been abandoned.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
That's pretty cool.
Huh.
A lot of them are chain axes, which I assume is an axe that has like a chainsaw on the blade.
It is. It's a yep, and it is basically the signature weapon of the World Eaters for sure.
Ah, okay. They're chain axers.
I gotcha.
Yep, chain axes and chain swords. You'll find a picture of it right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, those are neat. Looks like
Yeah.
it's like an engined axe.
Yeah.
This is actually one of Angron's. This is Gorechild.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That one goes along with Gore Father.
Yes.
The chain axes he was dual wielding during the heresy.
Gore Child and Gore Father?
Yep.
Yeah. He also had a pistol called the Spite Furnace.
Yeah, but almost never used it.
Almost never used it. It was a mastercrafted plasma pistol.
Wow.
He had Brazen Tooth, which was a two-handed chain axe.
Oh my
But
god.
he gifted that to Lorgar when they became allies.
Oh, interesting.
Oh. Huh.
So that's kind of neat.
I noticed Lorgar wasn't carrying it.
I would like to see Demon Primarch Logar return with the chain axe. That would
Yeah.
be interesting.
Oh yeah, that would
Chain
be
axe
cool.
in one hand and his Crozius in the other.
There we go.
Widowmaker, which was a chain axe, it was destroyed in the Battle of Lehman Russ.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Widowmaker. That's such a good name for a weapon.
Of course.
Spine Grinder,
Spine
Oh,
grinder.
my
Now
God.
there's a good name for
Now
a
that's a
weapon.
World Eater name. If
Yeah.
ever I've heard one.
Titanic chain axe. So I assume it was just huge.
Titanic chain axe.
Jesus.
Hold up. How big must that be? Probably fucking huge.
It's large.
Yeah.
Big enough.
Big enough.
I don't know, 6, 7.
Easily 8.
Easily. He also had a rune sword called the Black Blade.
Ooh, he had a sword.
That was like pretty early, I think. It was
Oh.
or no, well, it was forged by the Dark Mechanicum, right?
Yeah, so that is what he's
Oh.
wielding as a Demon Primarch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Put up the axe and took up the sword. Now that's an interesting transition because axes are tools that don't always have to be used for killing, like as a weapon. You can use them to chop down a tree or whatever.
Yeah.
Sword, all you're doing with that thing is fighting somebody else with it.
Yeah.
So that's a neat way to kind of
unipurpose.
add to that transition. Neat.
Mm-hmm. And then my favorite one was the Samni Arius.
The what?
The Samni Arius,
Somni Arius.
which is a demon sword made from a Slanesh demon by that name. And the way that it was forged, he beat that demon with just an iron bar, and he beat it so bad that I think that became the blade. It became like a demon sword.
It just beats the demon into a
I
sword.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean
My
that's
God.
one way of doing it.
That's one of the most orcish things I've ever
I
heard
know.
of.
Yeah. Yep.
Just angry pummeling into a sword.
I was
This poor
That's
demon.
incredible.
That's fucking hilarious.
The demon doesn't even get to like die and reconstitute. It's just a fucking sword now.
I think it had insulted him or something. And so he was just so
Ooh.
angry. He was like, oh, yeah.
I'll show you.
That's like the 40K equivalent of when your mom grabs a coat hanger. So
Yep.
fuck.
Run! That is hilarious. Oh, I just love that imagery. Just an angry Angron.
Oh,
Did he do that as a demon himself, a demon prince?
Yes.
As himself?
You would
yeah.
have to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no
that
way.
makes sense.
This
is Okay.
fortuitous.
yeah, there's no way a regular Primarch could do
Good
something.
thing there's an
pull something
iron
off of
bar right here. Wham! Wham!
it. Jesus.
That's amazing. And that is a lot of weapons for Primarch.
It is.
Yeah, you usually don't see more than like 3. I don't know.
No, they're very specific about their weapons. They take a long time to forge them and care for them, and
Yeah.
they become very much a part of them. So it is
Yeah.
unusual to see one so cavalier with their weapons.
Yeah. Now I thought it was interesting that it's considered bad luck to pick it up, for someone to take it up once it's been dropped. But that happened with one of
All the
Angron's
time.
axes.
Karn took Gorechild.
Karn took him and had it reforged. And I wonder if that was the bad luck that led to some other things.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
no, they
Yeah.
ignore that all the time. They pick every time they go to battle, they're picking up weapons because they destroy their own. It's
yeah.
just
It's just a
hypocrisy
little-
in 40K, you know.
Hypocrisy in 40K. I guess I'll have to get used to that. It pops up every now and again.
Practicality overrides superstition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but necessity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's a good place to wrap up for Angron.
Okay, that sounds good. Obviously, I had a couple of thoughts in mind for like comparisons, but we won't dwell on them too much because obviously The Spartacus one is the
that one's
foremost.
heavy.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
for
one is
sure,
that one's
yeah.
all over his origin story. Angron is what if Spartacus had lived spitefully beyond
Yeah.
that moment.
For sure.
Another one. I'll just say it. I'm
Sure.
gonna take big stretch. Way big stretch.
Oh, God.
So these butcher's nails affecting his brain.
Uh-huh.
Was a guy named Phineas P. Gage, who was a worker on a railroad, and he ended up with a rod through his brain.
Yeah.
And after that injury happened, like he was able to live,
But
but
he was a real asshole.
yeah, he was like his
His
friends
behavior has
described him
changed.
as like not being Gage anymore.
You know, I wouldn't call that a big stretch. I would call it a stretch, not a big one.
Okay, there we go.
That's decent.
Yeah,
I can see where
thanks.
I would call it a stretch, not a big one. I can see where you got there.
Right.
Definitely.
Because it's something that's piercing his brain, that is altering who he is. That's why
for
I'm
sure.
telling you, Angron did nothing wrong. Angron is innocent. He is an innocent boy. I'm telling you all. He had a rod through the brain equivalent thereof, you know?
And you know what's interesting is there is reference to before he had the butcher's nails,
Yeah.
he came across a person that was dying and in pain, and he was able to use his empathy to absorb their pain for them.
No.
So that makes you wonder what his purpose might have been.
Oh, no.
For the drain damage.
Yeah.
Before the train bridge. Oh, that's so sad. This poor guy. All right. So that was it. I won't dwell on the comparison stuff too much. I just
Oh.
wanted to point a couple of those things
Those were
out.
good.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I like it.
So,
All right, so that is it for Angron Part 1. Obviously, we're going to divide up into Part 2. What is he doing in the 42nd, maybe 43rd millennium? I think by the time we get back to him, there's going to be a lot.
yeah.
I think
All right.
I think they're cooking up for something intense. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
So our next episode is
Hey guys, Future Eric here. Long time no see, right? The next episode is gonna be The Warp, Chapter 1. We'll be talking about The Warp.
Thank you, future Eric.
actually is it our crossover with Cult of Campbell?
Actually, it might be.
No, it's The Warp.
It might be. If not, we're going to start talking about it anyway.
Why do I bother?
Yeah,
There's
so
yeah.
we'll make the announcement. We'll go ahead and announce it here.
Yeah.
There is going to be a crossover event for Cult of Lore with Cult of Campbell.
Yep. To celebrate Cult of Campbell's two-year.
Two year anniversary. We are going to be covering the Necronomicon.
Groovy.
Yeah. And that'll be a preemptive, a taste, a tip, a little bit of a I don't know what for our Halloween episode that's HP Lovecraft.
Ooh, yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. We'll be dipping into that cosmic-y goodness.
You don't use the word Mickey around here. Fuck that mouse.
Yeah. I'm so-
The only Mickeys around here better be in drinks, motherfucker.
Sounds good to me.
Anyway, with that, I've been
Eric.
I think we nailed it.
bye.